Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew and Kevin. Yeah, we have a discussion today with two preeminent, for sure, ship finance bankers in Asia. Let me first, I don't think I need to really introduce them, but I will briefly introduce them. Mr. Logan Chong, Managing Director and Head of Shipping and Offshore for BNP Paribas in Hong Kong. And Stephanie Leow, Managing Director and Head of Shipping Finance for China and North Asia. And I thank you very much for taking the time to meet with us today. So I think it was probably Marine Money, actually, many years ago, 15 or more years ago. And someone on one of the panels said, you can always tell the status of the market, the shipping market, by who is attending the Marine Money conferences that year. And when the shipping industry is very healthy and charter rates are high and ship owners are making money, and you come to a Marine Money, you cannot find any ship owners, and it's all the bankers and the leasing companies and others. And when the markets are bad, of course, then it's the opposite. And of course, the lawyers are always here no matter what. So having said that, we talk about maybe some trends going on in the shipping finance market. And speaking of the ship owners, the last sort of year or two or more, the ship owners have done quite well historically in terms of higher profits and better rates, et cetera. So we've also seen that's led to a lot of early repayments and other issues like that. Has that been a challenge for the banks, and how have you managed to address that in terms of your portfolios and your budgets? And maybe Logan, start with you.
I think lady first, better.
Please, thank you, Stephanie.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Conor. So prepayment has been a big issue for us. We have experience where shipping companies, obviously the past 2 years they've been quite successful in what they're doing, and we have had prepayments. But I think the shipping companies that would have prepaid would have already done so. So I'm hoping that next year is the year where they come back to the market to borrow as well.
Yeah, similarly to BNP, so we have a lot of prepayments. In this year, actually start in the year before. So in fact, our portfolio has come down a lot. So this honestly affect our revenue. So we hope, given as Stephanie mentions, that the ship owners, if they are already prepaid, then probably hoping they will not prepay anymore in next year, and hoping that the US dollar interest rate will come down in next year. That will probably have more ship owners can consider to borrow again, because the interest rate, in fact, really that our clients considers very seriously because of the high interest rate. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think we all know in shipping that nothing lasts too long, basically. And whenever there are good times, it almost seems like there are some challenging times coming ahead. And so I think you're right that the finance opportunities will be coming back maybe next year, maybe the year after. But in terms of your portfolios, and Logan, you mentioned obviously has impact on your portfolios. So looking sort of more historically, say 10 years or 5 years ago versus today, what are the relative sizes of the portfolios for example, your banks doing shipping finance?
Well, if I remember correctly, when I joined BNP in 2007, at that time, BNP was not ranked in the top 10 of shipping bank. And in the past 5 years, we've ranked number 1 as a shipping bank. Our portfolio is the top, which is a record by Marine Money. So this year we got a lot of prepayment. We don't know at the end, this year maybe China Exim Bank will become number one. Yeah.
Stephanie, how about SCB?
I think we have managed to keep our portfolio sort of in a growth level, I would say. Globally, similar to Logan, I mean, we started our business, our shipping finance business in 2007. And I think we've been on a sort of a growth trajectory since then. We haven't retreated from the market, even during the bad times. We've been consistent. So I wouldn't say we're in the top 5, but certainly we remain in the market and remain quite relevant in the shipping finance market.
Sorry, I have to clarify. We are not starting to ship finance in 2007. It's I joined BNP. So we have started shipping finance I think BNP is one of the band that do ship finance, the earliest band. So we have a history over 60 years, So we are the one of the band that in the history.
So next year, I think, Logan, you mentioned it a bit, but do you think in 2024 we will see an end to this kind of repayment cycle and go back to more sort of normal times, I suppose?
Well, I don't know that will be the case, and I hope so, because the US dollar interest rate is at the moment is still high. When the US dollar interest rate will come down, we don't know. Of course, our global market and a lot of banks have forecast probably in the second half of next year that the interest rate may start to come down. But given different sector of our shipping industry, shipping market, it seems container is start to peak first, and then bulker and then tanker. So the 3 major shipping subsectors have all have a good time. So ship owners they earn quite a lot of money. So I think it's all depend whether the interest rate cycle that can come down, then they may consider to borrow again.
So I think we don't see interest rates going back down to 0 anytime soon. So I think it's a matter of everyone sort of getting used to these levels, or maybe going back in time, in 2007 when rates were similarly this high. What I do tell my clients is, look, shipping right now is deemed as a good, an interesting asset class. There's increased competition within banks to provide financing at good margins. Obviously, that's a reflection of the financial strength of their balance sheet or their financials at the moment. But seeing where certain sectors are, where they are going towards a sort of a downturn, fact of the matter is when we review or renew our credit grading, when the new financials come up, margins are going to go up. So perhaps this is a good time for clients to also lock in the competitive margins for their financing. Bearing in mind, yes, base rates are high, but they're not going down anytime soon. You just better get used to it.
So speaking of clients, then obviously the relationship with with Chinese leasing companies and the banks has evolved, especially over the last 10, 12 years or even longer. I think in the early days of Chinese leasing, it was seen as somewhat of a competition for the banks, a new source of financing that would compete for ship owner work. But how has it now developed, in your view, over the years? Are the leasing companies, do you view them as partners or as still competitors but also partners?
Well, it's always the case. They are partners, they are competitors. In fact, this role, no change. But also, well, I think that is also a trend that more Chinese leasing company coming into the market. At the beginning, I think 10, 12 years ago, the first tier Chinese leasing company start their business. But right now, in the recent years, there are other Chinese leasing companies. Well, we can just so-called named second or third tiers. Yeah, but don't quote. But who are the first, second, and third? But anyway, it's just the timing, coming. So since so many leasing companies coming into the market, of course, the competition will be very keen. So that really giving us a lot of pressure business-wise. So that's why, but the market is open, is efficient, so we have to face it.
Yeah, similarly, I mean, they're banks, they're clients of the bank, very much so, not just in shipping finance, but also in other parts. Competitors on certain deals, partners on certain deals. I think the market, similar to what Logan said, I think the market is big enough to absorb both of us. Yeah.
We turn a little bit to sort of sectors that you may be focused on or looking at or have experience with. I think one of the interesting ones, again, after being quiet for a few years for a variety of reasons, is the offshore sector. And there are a number of FPSO projects and other offshore projects that are looking to begin or are beginning. And I think financing is one of the main concerns. Is that something, with your banks, are you focusing on offshore at the moment? Or is it still, do you prefer to maybe provide the funding to the leasing house instead, who's taking the direct risk with the vessels?
Well, I think for offshore sector, this is something linked to sustainability. So I think we will be shying away from this sector. So this is nothing wrong with the credit of the clients. It's just because of sustainability issue. Yeah.
So oil and gas remains, we remain open to financing the oil and gas sector. But obviously, as a bank, we have made certain position statements on what we will and we will not finance. So those projects or the fields will have to meet our position statements in order for us to finance it. So we still remain open, but we caveated that we will be selective. And we will need to see the decarbonization story in order to support the project.
So obviously, in addition to offshore, some other key sectors in the last number of years have been containers and LNG as well. In terms of sectors, do you try to focus on one or two sectors primarily? I know you said you have your policy statements and policy principles, but what are those sectors that you really would choose as your first option if possible?
I think the politically correct answer would probably be we don't really focus on a particular sector, rather we are client-led. When we look at the transaction, we will look at the transaction structure, the client's financials. We are ultimately in the business of managing risk and reward. So even though a sector is going looks like in a down cycle, but we have to find ways to sort of manage the risk in that. Similarly, if a particular sector is in an upward cycle, there is a risk to that. So we would still look at how we manage the risk and reward. But we are cautious about containers, obviously. We would look at managing the loan to value on those. LNG, I do believe, and this is my own personal view, I think there's a bit of oversupply there. But there is the angle as well that one of the recent trends, when you asked that question, was what are the recent trends in the past few years? I think one of it is the rush to secure supply chain as well as steady energy supply. So I think that will remain. So that might change the supply and demand economics of LNG. But these are the two sectors where we'll probably be a little bit more cautious on.
Well, similarly, BNP also, we don't focus on any particular sectors. So as Stephanie mentioned, so we look at different dimensions. So so that's why BNP, we have done doing shipping finance for over 60 years. So we go through different cycles, well, different phases of different subsectors. So we will do business and down cycle and up cycles. So we will not focus or just focus on particular sectors. Yeah. So of course, as Stephanie also mentioned, if that sector cycle is at the bottom or oversubscribed, because it's always supply and demand, then of course we will be more cautious, with different the tools to manage our risk. LTV, loan to value is one. But of course there will be others elements to look at, whether it's a strong sponsor, strong charterers, or whether the structure is robust. All that will come to our considerations.
You both touched on decarbonization earlier, and obviously it's a hot topic, not only this conference, but in general. So this is maybe not a fair question, but how much of your time or your team's time is spent focusing on your decarbonization and sort of compliance, and also, incentivizing clients to, to meet those targets?
We spend a lot of time on it, a lot of time. So every single transaction that we look at, we actually assess it against our environmental and social, as well as reputational risk policies, to make sure they comply with. One of the things I spoke about was our position statements. One of them is environment, social responsibility policy as well. The other thing we look at is climate risk. We assess how our client and how the asset itself is ready or future-proof against climate risk. So these are the things we look at. But apart from the risk, we also look at the opportunities in the sector. We are actively promoting transition finance and sustainability-linked loans to our Chinese clients, and they're very receptive to it. The other thing that we are spending a lot of time on is also guiding our clients towards meeting EU ETS, and as well as their potential hedging requirements. So these are the things we spend time on, not both on just managing, but also the vast opportunities there. Same. I think the international banks, we all have facing the same issue. So we actually right now that for onboarding any new client, we need to answer a list of CSR questions. So apart from the original KYC list that we now have a CSR question list. So it's quite a long list. So that, of course, we spend a lot of time for that. So unfortunately, our client has to bear with that, because we all have the responsibility to our society for a better world, better environment, better earth. So we can't avoid it.
I think we're just about to run out of time, so I'll finish with one last question. And it was something that came up in one of the earlier presentations today. It was spoke about retrofitting vessels and sort of the financing challenges around that in terms of the tenor of the financings and some of the other issues. So if a client comes to you in a couple of years or a year and says, we want to retrofit the vessel, but we have financing with you, can we get an uplift in financing, or can we do something else? What are the options from the bank's perspective if a client needs to do that kind of work?
We're very much open to it. I think this fits very well within our transition framework. I would akin it to similarly when the industry was going through scrubber financing, right? So banks are generally open to it within a sort of a reasonable range of loan to value on the uplift. I think in particular one of the panels did talk about having a 20-year-old vessel and retrofitting it with ESTs, and banks are not providing financing. I think unfortunately there's still a bit of mismatch there. Banks, unfortunately, at least for Standard Chartered Bank, we are unable to get sort of capital relief on a 25-year-old vessel. So I think there's still a bridge to gap there. But in general, we are open to retrofitting financing.
Yeah, similarly, yeah, BNP, we are definitely open for retrofitting. And in fact, well, this morning we talk about carbon capture equipment, that we very much open to finance carbon capture equipment. And and other equipment that can help to improve the engine efficiency, saving more fuel, that we are all opened. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Logan and
Colin.
Stephanie, and thank you. And back to Kevin.